Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about Orange Pi 5 Plus or this puppy. So let's dive deep into it. So this board was given to me for review. This is not like I did not purchase this, nor it's a sponsored video simply because they did not pay money. No money changed hand. Basically, it's just a review kit. They're like go YOLO on it. So this is a high power SoC. What does that mean? That simply means every SoC has a certain design criteria. Like for example, Raspberry Pi has a design criteria. It must be cheap. It must be cost effective. So they focus on that part very crucially, so to say. However, imagine what will happen if you have the same sort of single board computer vibe to it, but you're like, hey, power. That's your design. Like use whatever components you can use, and within certain limitation, obviously, try to make it as powerful as possible. So this is like that. So this is Rockchip RK3588, 8 core 64-bit CPU. So it's actually quite competent, meaning it could be used for like even a smartphone or tablet. Basically, a few years ago, it would be literally cutting edge. So it's actually high horsepower, and it has RAM options. Bit too much RAM options, but it has 4 GB, which I got, 8 gigabyte, which you can buy, 16 gigabytes, and just few days ago they announced 32 gigabyte. 32 gigabyte in a single board computer. I mean, like you can literally have NVMe to SATA output, and then you can run a network attached storage because 32 gigabyte is that much. So it's huge, and the biggest ease of use upgrade it has is full size M.2. You have to understand, we have reached a point where micro SD cannot handle a full-fledged operating system. It was designed for sequential read and write, not a random reads and write, which operating system does. So SD cards are dying very quickly nowadays. That's why you'll see people like for what they are asking for in Raspberry Pi is a NVMe hat. NVMe hat inbuilt, so full size, because be mindful the same SoC is available in normal Raspberry Pi size, but it uses half slot, meaning not 2280. It's different sizes, same size used in Steam Deck. So it's much smaller one. It's not easily available, but this full size one, super easily available, low cost, nothing major hassle, and it has 2 gigabytes ports, as in like 2.5 Gbps, two of them. So meaning you can, if you have an internet that is coming in and that is very high speed 2.5 Gbps internet, this puppy can digest it and act as a router while having more than enough throughput to survive a mid-sized business. Not a large enterprise, but mid-sized business. So if you have 10, 20 or 50 people running on a heavy application, this is like, SoC is powerful enough. And be mindful, most of the enterprise hardware, unless you go into like a very high-end, like Linus Tech Tips level, most of the hardware is like generally weirdly underpowered. So in those scenarios, this will be like, whoa. So having that 2.5 GPS, or if you are making a NAS, you can aggregate them and get 5 GPS output, which is significant. So it has that, and it also has 2 USB 3.0. That's good there, and full size HDMI. Thank you. I am very happy that it has full size HDMI. I genuinely do not get it why Raspberry Pi has that, because you may be like, okay, it saves money. It does not. Not only the basically the port itself is expensive. Now, why port is expensive? It's not mass produced. This puppy is mass produced for way too many things. When you're talking about micro ports, it's not mass produced for that many things. So, and not to mention cable is also, and not to mention, not only it's expensive, it's rare, it's also fragile. This strong, robust, precise. We have been making this puppy for AV receivers, consoles, TVs, and all that jazz. So very robust, very known, good solution. So going them vertical route like this allows them to pack 3 of them, 3 full size. So 2 are input, 2 are output, 1 is input, and it also has USB-C data jack. Be mindful, it's not a 5 Gbps one, so you will not get full high speed out of it, but it's still there. And it also has a GPU on board. Of course, SoCs have that. It is Mali G610, which is quite competent. Do not expect them latest and greatest, but it's quite competent. On top of that, it also has onboard neural processing unit, meaning if you know how these extensions work, you can look into the extensions, and if everything is right, you can just run the machine learning on the SoC. Basically, exactly how your mobile phone runs neural processing that is required for background blur for cameras. So that processing is done on board. It can do that. So if you know how to utilize it, it has it. So this is a high power SoC. It's not designed for like lowest cost possible. It's designed for more oomph. Now, what about the design element of it? Well, it had to be big because again they do have the same SoC on a smaller board, but it just does not have enough horsepower. They wanted to accommodate everything. They kind of went overboard, but it does have everything, like literally everything. So it has fan ports, meaning again the SoC is powerful and it does not have a good cooling solution. You're gonna need a fan. So it does need fan. It does also have a real-time clock, meaning if you are doing any remote application, you can utilize that, and it does not require like bodging something. Yeah, it has a real-time clock battery location, not battery as in like you need to buy a connector and all that. LCD support, meaning if you are trying to make a tablet out of this, you can. It has LCD support. eMMC for some reason, but again, if you want low cost storage, again on industrial scale, it's not low cost for you and me. That's why I find it odd, but you can put that here. It has HDMI input. Again, if you require it, if you are trying to capture some camera output, go YOLO on it. Touchscreen, meaning not only you can have LCD, you can also have touchscreen, so you can make a kiosk machine. Then it has camera input also. Again, face recognition can be done because it does have neural processing unit, SD card obviously, and it has full NVMe, which again I keep specifying, this is a very big deal. The easiest way you can have a big deal, this is how you have a big deal, have a full size NVMe. M.2 is also available, that is on top. This is E-key, meaning you can put different brands of Ethernet cards or some expansion boards, meaning if you want Wi-Fi 7, you can buy a Wi-Fi 7 this E-key and just plonk it here and have Wi-Fi 7. Or Intel has a Wi-Fi 6 series of card that is quite easily available, but it does support Wi-Fi 7 radios, what you call spectrum. The reason it's not Wi-Fi 7, it was made before the Wi-Fi 7 alliance was basically before the standard was complete. So it has all the features, is all done, but it generally does happen. There are times where you can buy a technology before it's technically ratified. So you can put that also and get a really like high quality internet experience and full 40 GPIO pins. So if you need, if you have certain requirements where you need to use like all these GPIO pins, it has all of it. So fundamentally, it also has some other stuff, IR input and mic, and yes, it has mic on board itself. Headphone input output, that's also there. So it has more than enough, let's just put it that way. And I really like the fact that somebody thought it's like, hey, what if you are running an operating system and freezes? You need a button to restart it. It has buttons. Power button it has, mouse chrome button it has. So like somebody sat down and just like, let me give you all the possible options possible with this puppy. Go YOLO on it. So they went YOLO on the design. That's why it's big. Now, what about the good aspects of it? Well, the good aspects is Orange Pi, everybody is kind of realizing that they kind of understand why Raspberry Pi was successful. Raspberry Pi is not successful because it has the latest and greatest price to performance ratio or latest and greatest hardware. The reason it is the marriage between the software and hardware is very peaceful, very coherent. And majority of the third-party offerings are horrible in that regard. Now, why is that? Well, it requires certain individual on top, basically C-class executive, to be wise enough to understand, because it's very easy to ask them money for developing this, because they can see, oh, you are making this, you're going to sell it, we're going to make money. Very easy to sell. Ask them to like, hey, give me some money so we can hire some developers and process it. It's like, what are we gaining out of it? From an economics point of view, if you have very short, attention span, you will suffer from that. And yes, many companies do suffer from that. I mean, like, it's very hard for people to grasp. It's like Apple spent boatload of money on development. That's why their devices are smooth. They're like, I bought a high-end SoC, why it's not smooth? It's like, that's not how it works. You have to make sure the marriage works. So Orange Pi on that regard is making some good progress. So you can install the operating system on NVMe itself. Now, this is not a x86 where you just plonk a USB key with the operating system, boot into it and directly flash the system into this. It's not there yet. But this was an issue for me because I do not have NVMe to USB. How the heck I burn the operating system in the NVMe? The only options that I've seen is like install an operating system into the micro SD card, run it on the micro SD card, then while you are running the SoC itself, then flush the image into the NVMe. Can be done, but extremely tedious. They actually put into the effort and they have a way of doing this by utilizing the SoC as a, well, the device itself as SoC is gonna act like a USB to NVMe adapter. Just you have to replace a bit of a boot code. They did this, like it's available. It can be done. Manual is very thorough and explains everything. Bit redundant because the same steps could be repeated for different OS images, but they're very thorough with it. and it explains it. And in terms of horsepower, yeah, this is a category of hardware where you do not have to complain about it. Like if you're comparing with any of the Raspberry Pis, any of its similar size and variants, you do not have to compare. It's like, bro, I'm on a different level. As long as you get high enough RAM. If you get very low RAM, that's on you. So other than that, it's on a whole different level. Full size HDMI makes my life very easy. Full size SSD makes your life very easy. USB 3.0 makes everybody's life easy. Easily available 3D mesh. This is, again, these are little things which, if you ever wondered why the heck when Asus tried to make a competition for Raspberry Pi, why it was not successful, yeah, that was the reason. There are many small things that you have to do right in order to foster a community. For example, for this puppy, I was carrying this to my Mumbai Expo visit. So I needed a case for it. I 3D printed a case for it. How can I get a 3D print case? Because somebody already built it. Why somebody could build it? 3D mesh was available. And there are more than enough cases available for this. Same way Raspberry Pi. You do not think about it, but way too many options have that where it's like, oh, we made the SoC, then you figure it out. It's like, no, you have to help us. And like, again, who has the best 3D mesh of the damn 3D thing you made? The people who made it. Because again, even in the applications where you're building the PCB, it has a very good 3D output. You can take that 3D output like SVL output and all that. So 3D printed case makes life easier. Support for OpenWRT, because it does have two Ethernet jacks. People may be like, hey, what if I use it as a high power router? It can act as a high power router, and they support it. So they have Orange Pi OS, OpenWRT, Arch based Orange Pi, Android based Orange Pi, Ubuntu Android Pi, and Ubuntu based, Debian based, and you have source code for other things. Plus, they have also verified to some extent, again, they do not go in detail and polish it, but some extent third-party images, which again, one of the interesting one is Windows on ARM. Be mindful, Windows on ARM, if you have a low RAM variant, do not even bother. So they have DietPi, Kali, Rocky Linux, CentOS. So you get the point. Like somebody put some effort into it, and it shows. These are the good sides of this. So if they are good, that means they are also bad. Yeah, there is some serious bad thing. First, the 4GB model really bothers me. It's like, it's literally like taking, what if we take a Ferrari, you know, and what if we put the most worn out tire on that? It's like, dude, what the experience I got out of this is so horrible that it cannot even play YouTube videos. And I was using Orange Pi OS. I was not using any third party, or I was not, you know, quote unquote compiling kernels. I was just raw download it, raw install it. It's like it was not working. Again, videos would play, but it was like chug along because RAM was completely maxed out. In the fact they claim 8K, I can guarantee you it can barely do full HD. If you have the 4GB variant, of course, once you increase the RAM, and you're like, why RAM is so important here? That same RAM is as a VRAM of the GPU, because the SoC is the one unit. So you do need enough of that. And modern operating system, even Linux operating system, unless somebody goes inside and strips out everything, is still heavy. So having that RAM variant, a low RAM variant, again, many people could be like, hey, I'm just gonna buy Orange Pi. They may not pay attention to the cheap variant. They're like, oh, it's available. Maybe it's a low price and all that. They may end up buying 4GB, and you're like, oops. So fundamentally, it's a bad offering. It's really bad. Yeah, I can see it. It's working perfectly well for a router, but again, you have to decide it before you buy it. So as a tool, you never want to have this. Lack of English RK dev tool. So basically you need this steps which is available in the manual. Why the heck a company that is trying so hard to become international, and you must have noticed that Orange Pi hardware is getting flooded everywhere. They are trying their best, and they are doing some good work, but it's like, dude, you have one amazing ability that you can plonk a NVMe SSD, have a computer, and just flush the OS directly into this. And again, the tool required to do that is in Mandarin. It's like, dude, it's not that hard. Now, to be fair, there is you need two applications. One application to flush the BIOS, another application is to burn the whole image. So flushing the BIOS system, in the manual it's in Mandarin, but when I downloaded it, it's in English. So somebody was translating it. So I do expect them to translate it, but it's not translated when I'm making this video. So that does suck. Again, it's not that hard, because again, it's the hard part of this sort of application is the back end. When you have locked in front end, you just have to replace the language keys. It's doable. Again, not free or you know, insignificant, but doable. And again, it will make your not only the application far more flexible to use, and ease of use will go up. However, all those things are like, you know, minor issues, but big issue is this puppy. Like, what is this? Well, This you have to use this sort of adapter, this one, which is 5 volt 4 amps. Now that is not a standard voltage or amps. So even though it has USB-C, it's not USB-C power delivery. It's a fundamentally problematic aspect, and yeah, that's why it does not have jack here. Can you connect this to your mobile phone without frying it? Absolutely. It simply means 5 volt 4 amps, meaning it can allow you to draw up to 4 amp before shutting down. So yes, you can charge your mobile phone, very slow charging, because most smartphones do expect higher voltage for higher amps, like 7 volt, 9 volt, 12 volt, 15 volt, that sort of things. So 5 volt 4 amps is brutal, very difficult for this sort of high yield application, meaning unless you have this exact power brick, you cannot just plonk a laptop power supply, because again, even though laptop power supplies are switching to power delivery and they have more than enough oomph to do this, they may not have the ability to do handshake, even if they support 5 volt 4 amps, because technically you should be able to draw up to 5 amps on any power delivery system if it's designed properly. Precision power supply, if I'm not mistaken, that's the protocol name inside power delivery. So it should be doable, but having this limits it. And again, be mindful, I have no idea why the heck this is sold in India, as in like in Amazon shop, and you will find the plugs that are not India specific. That's why I built this adapter using some, if I'm not mistaken, I used what you call automotive jacks, which was like kind of fits perfectly. Ta-da! This is how I got it. And it's a heat shrink, so not as big of a electrical hazard as it could be. And you do need heatsink. I kind of lucked out that I had an old motherboard whose Southbridge SoC, Southbridge heatsink. Yes, that's how old it was. Southbridge. It used to have Southbridge. So I plonked that out. It fits here, kind of. It's not perfect fit, but not perfect alignment, but it does work. So I'm happy with it. So it does need it, because if you do not have a heatsink, it's gonna melt. So you need something like this, where you have either heatsink or metal chassis or a fan and heatsink. Do not expect it to run without it. It will thermal throttle very quickly. So what can we expect in the future? Well, they must have reduced cost, because this is the lowest cost I managed to find. That is from RoboWay in India, Orange Pi, and it's available for 17,700. And again, even in abroad, this price is high, so it's not low cost. And again, that's why our Raspberry Pis people are hating Raspberry Pi slowly creeping up in the price, especially if you buy useful amount of RAM with it. Then this is like painful, because be mindful, if they keep at this price, it's a niche tool. Like, you already need to know what you're gonna do, then only you're gonna buy. And those sort of customers, there are very few of them. So in terms of bulk order sale, you're not gonna get a lot of sale. And then you have to understand, nowadays we have lot of low power PCs flooding the market, because again, computers industry, corporate world, they are just switching now to Windows 11, and they require new PCs, and generally every 5 years there will be a great flush. So we are in that great flush right now. So you can find very high power PC, very low power also, high power and high capacity and low power draw system that are this small, like very small, thin client PCs, which have almost same kind of specs and hardware horsepower. And it will be far more practical, far more oomph in terms of what it can do. So this sort of cost makes it very hard to justify. So they must figure out a way to reduce the price. Otherwise, that PC flooding is gonna remove all of these things. Another aspect is, how can they reduce the price, right? That's a genuine question. It's like, oh, you want the same power or even more power but lower cost. How? Well, reduce the RAM offering. That's the easiest thing they could do. You may be like, okay, how big is the deal to reduce RAM? Well, here's the deal. If you have only one RAM spec, meaning you have one supply chain, that's it. If you have multiple offerings, that simply means there has to be some individual. If either you could have 4 pick and place machine, where you're like, okay, this machine is gonna dump 4 GB RAM, this machine is gonna dump 8 GB RAM, this is gonna dump 16, this is gonna dump 32. You can have all of that. If it's not time sensitive, you're gonna have like, okay, first batch will be 4, then you switch the reels, put a new reel with the RAM die, larger RAM die, get it done. It costs money, a lot of money. So you do want to reduce your part counts. The best way, throw away all the unnecessary RAM option. What kind of RAM option they can give? Given the context and SoC's capability, 16 GB done. Do not waste time on lower or higher. That's it. Like 16, done, go home. And power supply wise, yes, the board has more than enough horsepower, but here's it. Half of them are useless simply because you have to require this puppy. So if they can, let's say, remove the HDMI input, Nobody will complain if they replace it with a proper, competent buck boost converter based power delivery system. It's not that expensive. It's just somebody has to decide it. If you have a proper power delivery, which mind you, this is year 2024. Why does that matter? This law is finally in effect. 2024 is the last year where mobile phones can have custom power delivery handshakes. All of that has to go away. Every phone has to support. Android and iOS have to support power delivery. Laptops will get it by 2026. So nowadays you can buy any new one supports a dual standards, meaning they could have a hook charger and all that, but also support power delivery. EU had made it a law, and everybody is enjoying the fruits of that labor. So creating a device with expensive price that does not enjoy the fruits of that labor, it's like, why? If you have a buck boost, and it also allows other options where you can have like any adapter you have. Most adapters have more than enough horsepower to beat this in terms of wattage. So you can easily find adapters that are 25 watts, easily find, heck, most of the modern mobile phones power adapters are generally around 30 watts. So it's more than enough. It's just the handshake is not there because you need a buck boost converter. Yes, it will require some space on the board, but you need the HDMI input, is move things a bit, get that power supply started. It's everybody would be happy. So that's how they can basically reduce the cost of ownership. Right now, you have to buy this sort of weird power bricks. Otherwise, unless you are lucky, because be mindful, some power supply do have a dumb up precision power supply power protocol, which allows you to draw more amp as long as within its limit. So if it's designed for laptop and it's designed for 5 amps, you may be able to run it. I have not tested it, and I would not even recommend to test it because they are very clear about it. It's not power delivery. So that way you can have less e-waste in the future, and it's cheaper for the owner to use. That's good. Then reduce OS offering. This is a critical aspect. It looks cool to have like 6 operating system or 7 operating system. They should only have 3. One for router, because again, this can act as an awesome router. Another for Linux based system. Another for Android based system. Done. Just bite the bullet and accept this is gonna be. That's it. So if that is the easiest way to increase polish. Once you increase polish, people will have good experience of it. My experience in using this was not very good. Again, it did work, but again, there were 2 problems with it. 4 GB RAM, again, that also means somebody has to validate, does the operating system fit in 4 GB RAM? Yeah, it does not. So that's why, reduce the offerings. It actually reduces your cost also. And have you ever noticed why Apple never offers RAM as an option? You shouldn't. So reduce OS offerings, increase polish. And eMMC, basically this puppy is unwise at this sort of power range, because from a user point of view, these things are same price as full size NVMe, and this SoC is powerful enough where it can handle these puppy and give read and write of 1 GB. So why are you using an inferior technology? It's an expensive SoC. Why are you using an inferior technology? It's like you're forcing random stuff. Again, that also is here. You can get so much space back. Just yeet that out. Heck, I think if you yeet HDMI input, basically eMMC, infrared systems, if you remove all of those things, you have more than enough money and space in the board that you can have high quality power delivery. And that will have much better impact in terms of usability. So these are the few steps they can take that will make them far more competitive. I'm happy that they are focusing on software, but who the heck designed this system without power delivery? That was just like, nope. eMMC is like, yeah, you remove that. That's the biggest selling point. You have full size, as you use that. Like same price, I can get almost 256 GB NVMe SSD at better horsepower, better endurance, better everything than this. So I do expect this company to do well in the future, but they have to reduce offerings. They have to let go of the RAM options. So it's like, no, one RAM, go YOLO on it. So this was my presentation on Orange Pi 5 Plus. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst a friend. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.